The dog's incessant barking before the coffin left everyone at the wake perplexed. No one could understand why the animal was behaving that way, until an inexplicable miracle occurred, transforming grief into astonishment. The autumn morning dawned cold and silent over Santa Rosa, as if nature itself were respecting the mourning that had enveloped the small Brazilian town. A low fog hung over the cobblestone streets, while the familiar aroma of freshly brewed coffee drifted from house windows, mingling with the scent of flowers adorning the central chapel. Amanda Silva stood motionless beside the dark wooden casket. Her eyes, swollen from weeping, were fixed on her husband's serene face. João Silva had not only been the most respected police officer in town, but also a man who had won everyone's affection with his generosity and dedication. Dressed in a simple black suit, Amanda could barely stay on her feet, leaning discreetly against a wooden pew to keep from collapsing entirely. The chapel was full. Residents from all over Santa Rosa had come to pay their last respects. Whispers of condolence and stories of João's kindness filled the air as the priest prepared to begin the ceremony. Wreaths of flowers surrounded the casket, each bearing messages of love and gratitude to the man who had so often risked his own life for the community's safety. Seated faithfully beside the coffin, Rex maintained an almost military posture. The German Shepherd, João's inseparable partner on police rounds, wore his official K9 vest as if on duty. His amber eyes never strayed from the varnished wood where his owner rested. The bond between the animal and the officer had always been something that impressed everyone at the station, a partnership built on mutual trust and respect. Dona Lucia Costa, the neighbor who had always looked after Rex when the couple needed to be away, approached Amanda and squeezed her hand in silence. The gray-haired woman knew that words would be insufficient at that moment. It was then that the respectful silence of the chapel was broken. Rex let out a low bark, almost a painful whimper. Amanda looked at the animal, recognizing in him the same pain that was tearing her own heart apart. But what began as a lament soon turned into something more urgent. The German shepherd's barks intensified, echoing off the chapel's wooden pews and reverberating off the walls. The attendees began to exchange uneasy glances. The priest paused his prayers as the animal rose, agitated, without taking its eyes off the coffin. Amanda tried to calm the dog, but Rex seemed determined, barking louder and louder, as if trying to communicate something of extreme importance that only he could perceive. Amanda Silva stared at the casket with tear-filled eyes as Rex continued his lament. At first, she thought the German shepherd was simply expressing his grief, a reflection of the inseparable bond he shared with João. Those present exchanged understanding glances. After all, everyone in the small town of Santa Rosa knew of the police dog's devotion to his human partner. "He's just saying goodbye," Dona Lucia whispered, gently squeezing the widow's shoulder. But Rex's behavior changed drastically. His barks became more urgent, almost desperate. The animal began to claw at the varnished wood of the casket with such intensity that his paws began to bleed. Amanda tried to calm him, but the dog resisted, resolute in his inexplicable mission. "I've never seen Rex act like this," commented one of João's police colleagues, approaching cautiously. "Not even in the most tense moments on the job." A heavy silence fell over the chapel when Rex, using his full weight, tried to push the lid of the casket. A chill ran down everyone's spine. This wasn't just sadness. There was something more to this behavior. The priest, a gray-haired man who had known the Silva family for decades, stopped his prayers. After a moment's hesitation, He made a solemn gesture toward the coffin. Perhaps, perhaps we should check, he suggested, his voice trembling. Amanda nodded, unable to speak through the lump in her throat. Two men stepped forward, João's brother and his partner from the police force. With respectful movements, they unlatched the mechanism and slowly lifted the lid. Gasps of astonishment echoed off the walls of the small chapel. Rex immediately stopped barking, sitting attentively as if he had completed his mission. My God, Amanda murmured, bringing her hands to her mouth. There, carefully positioned in João Silva's arms, was something no one ever expected to find. Something that defied all logical explanation and would, in a matter of seconds, completely change the course of this grieving family's life. Amanda's eyes widened, her heart pounding. The discovery was not just surprising, it was a sign, a final message from her husband. As confused murmurs filled the chapel, she understood that this was not the end of the story she shared with João, but the beginning of something entirely new and unexpected. The silence in the chapel was shattered by a collective gasp as the coffin lid was finally lifted. Amanda Silva felt her legs weaken at the sight of what rested between her husband's crossed hands. A tiny German Shepherd puppy, no bigger than a closed fist, trembled and let out nearly inaudible whimpers. Its mottled fur and still half-closed eyes revealed it was only a few days old. My God, João, what did you do? Amanda murmured, tears streaming freely down her already grief-stricken face. The attendees crowded around, stunned. The priest, visibly flustered, made the sign of the cross, while João's police colleagues exchanged glances, as surprised as everyone else. No one could understand how the tiny creature had been placed there without anyone noticing during the preparation of the body. Rex, who had been barking incessantly until that moment, now approached with caution. The adult German Shepherd, still wearing his police K9 vest, placed his front paws on the edge of the coffin and, with a gentleness surprising for an animal of his size, licked the puppy's snout. The gesture seemed calculated, as if the dog were carrying out a mission for which he had been trained. She needs immediate care, warned Dona Lucia Costa, who quickly approached. The neighbor, known for her work with stray dogs, held out her arms. May I take her, Amanda? With trembling hands, the widow lifted the puppy from her husband's cold hands. The small, warm body against her skin created a painful contrast to the coldness of death that surrounded her. Amanda felt something awaken within her, a protective instinct she didn't know she possessed. We'll call her Hope, she announced, her voice choked but firm. Rex never took his eyes off the little dog, as if he recognized something familiar in her. His behavior was so deliberate, it seemed impossible not to think that João had prepared the animal for this moment. As murmurs rippled through the chapel, Amanda felt a storm of emotions. On one hand, the shock of the discovery and confusion over how it had happened. On the other, a strange sense that even in death, João continued to surprise her. How did he hide this from everyone? One of the officers asked, verbalizing what they were all thinking. Amanda shook her head, unable to answer. Holding the puppy against her chest, she watched Rex, who now sat obediently by her side, as if awaiting instructions. In that moment, amid the pain of grief, a new mission was taking shape, and with it, questions that demanded answers. The house was too quiet when Amanda Silva returned from the wake. The walls seemed to echo João's absence, while Rex lay on the living room rug, staring intently at the puppy sleeping in a makeshift basket. The next morning's sun brought only more questions and no answers. With her eyes still swollen from crying, Amanda decided to organize her husband's belongings. Every object held a memory. Every shirt still carried his scent. It was then, upon opening the desk drawer in their bedroom, that she found a yellowed envelope with her name written in João's unmistakable handwriting. Amanda's hands trembled as she opened the letter. "My love," it began. "If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer there. I ask you to take care of them with the same love we always had for each other." Amanda reread the paragraph several times. Who were they? Was João referring to Rex and the puppy? But how could he have known about Hope? Sitting on the edge of the bed she had shared with her husband for years, the widow watched Rex, who was now gently licking the puppy's head. The German shepherd's behavior wasn't one of surprise, but of recognition. It was as if the police dog already knew exactly what to do, as if he had been prepared for this moment. "Why did you hide her, João?" Amanda murmured to the empty room, hoping for an answer that would not come. The letter continued with instructions on where to find important documents and some saved money, but nothing explained the mystery of the puppy in the coffin. That afternoon, while Hope slept, Amanda searched her husband's phone. The messages revealed nothing, nor did the recent photos. Donna Lucia knocked on the door, bringing a casserole, but not even the kind neighbor seemed to know of any secrets involving dogs. "I will find out what happened," Amanda resolved, stroking Rex's fur as he looked at her with his intelligent, melancholy eyes. "We'll find out together." The next morning, she placed Hope in a carrier, clipped the leash on Rex, and set out with determination. If there were answers, they would be at the police station where João worked, or perhaps at the police kennel. The widow didn't know exactly where to look, but she was willing to follow any lead. As she walked through the streets of Santa Rosa, Amanda felt the weight of the townspeople's stares. Some offered condolences, others just watched curiously. The grieving woman with a police dog and a puppy. She pressed on, each step taking her closer to the truth. Or so she hoped. Amanda couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw João's face and the tiny, trembling puppy nestled beside him. Determined to find answers, she began seeking out the people who knew her husband best. First, she visited the police station where João Silva had worked. His colleagues described him as a man who went above and beyond the call of duty. Carlos Mendez, João's partner for 5 years, tearfully recounted how his friend had risked his own life to save a family of dog breeders during a devastating fire. The Oliveras lost everything that night. The house, the kennel, almost all their animals. João became obsessed with helping them after that, Carlos explained, showing photos on his phone of João, visiting what was left of the property. Donna Lucia Costa, the neighbor who always knew everything happening on their street, confirmed the story while serving Amanda coffee on her porch. "Your husband went there every week. He brought food, medicine, helped rebuild their fences. It was there that one of the dogs had a litter a short time ago." A shiver ran down the widow's spine. "Hope was born there," she murmured, as the pieces began to fall into place like a painful and revealing puzzle. Other neighbors recalled seeing João arrive home late some nights, always carrying supplies for dogs. Amanda had never questioned these outings. She trusted her husband implicitly and knew of his love for animals. While the revelations about João's past brought some comfort, the present posed immediate practical challenges. Looking at Hope, who slept curled up next to Rex on the living room rug, Amanda realized the magnitude of the responsibility she now carried. The puppy needed vaccinations, special food, and constant veterinary care. Rex, though healthy, also required attention and expenses. Amanda opened her savings book and felt her stomach sink. Almost everything had been spent on Joao's funeral. How am I going to manage? She asked herself, stroking Rex's head. The dog looked at her with those intelligent eyes, as if he understood her worry perfectly. Amanda checked her savings again. The money would barely cover 2 weeks of special puppy food. Joao's insurance had not yet been released, and the bills kept arriving mercilessly. That night, sitting at the kitchen table with papers and a calculator spread before her, she understood that honoring Joao's legacy would be much harder than she had imagined. It wasn't just a matter of love. It was a battle against time and scarce resources to keep alive not only his memory, but also the little life he had chosen to save. Just when Amanda thought the worst was over, hope began to show worrying signs. The puppy, already small and fragile, now barely touched her food. Her tiny body shivered with a persistent fever, and her once curious steps became wobbly and pained. The widow watched helplessly as the little dog that symbolized her new beginning faded before her eyes. Without a second thought, Amanda Silva scooped the puppy into her arms and ran to the veterinary clinic on the corner of the town square. Dr. Paulo, Santa Rosa's only veterinarian, examined Hope carefully, his brow furrowing with concern. She needs specific antibiotics, blood tests, and possibly hospitalization, he explained, handing her a prescription with costs that made Amanda's heart tighten. Her immune system is still developing. We need to act fast. Back home, the widow sat on the edge of the bed she had shared with João for 15 years. Rex lay beside her, resting his head on her knee, as if he understood the full weight of her anguish. With funeral bills still pending and no savings to speak of, Amanda began to sort through her husband's belongings. The watch she'd given him for their anniversary, his collection of old coins, even the wedding ring she had sworn never to remove. Donna Lucia was the first to notice the separated items when she stopped by with a bowl of soup. The neighbor, with her 70 years of wisdom, needed no explanation. "Don't you even think about it, my child," she said, taking Amanda's hands in hers. "João would never want you to part with these memories." The next morning, the doorbell never stopped ringing. First came the baker with an envelope of cash collected from the local shopkeepers. Then, the ladies from the sewing club arrived with the proceeds from a flash raffle they had organized. Even the group of police officers who had worked with João showed up with veterinary medicine and a basket of food. "We're organizing a benefit on Sunday," announced Carlos, Joao's former partner on the force. "Everyone wants to help." Amanda watched in disbelief as her living room filled with people, some of whom she barely knew. Rex moved among them, accepting pats and offering grateful licks. In a corner, Esperanza received her first dose of medicine, carefully administered by a volunteer who was a veterinary technician. That night, lying in bed with the two dogs by her side, Amanda understood that in Santa Rosa, no one faced their pain alone. The same community that had mourned João was now rallying to save the little miracle he had left behind. 2 weeks after the funeral, Amanda still hadn't found the courage to go through João's things. Every drawer, every closet, seemed to guard memories she wasn't ready to face. But Rex, restless, began to scratch insistently at the basement door, as if something important was calling to him from below. With trembling hands, Amanda Silva finally descended the creaking steps. The smell of must and old wood filled her lungs as she searched among dusty boxes. It was then she found it, hidden behind old tools, a metal safe she had never seen before. The combination was simple: the date of their wedding anniversary. Inside there was no money or jewelry, but something infinitely more valuable: a set of digital storage drives containing dozens of videos. Amanda connected the first one to the living room television and felt her heart stop. "Hey, my love," Joao's voice echoed through the empty room. "If you're seeing this, it means something happened to me." Rex immediately ran to the screen, touching his nose to the image of his master, as if he could will him back to life. The videos showed Joao training Rex with extraordinary dedication, teaching him complex commands that went far beyond standard police work. In some, he demonstrated rescue techniques. In others, how to identify people in distress or other sick dogs. "Amanda, trust Rex," Joao said in one of the recordings, stroking the German shepherd. "He knows more than we can imagine. He'll be your eyes when I'm not here." In another recording, her husband spoke excitedly about a secret project, a rehabilitation center for retired and abandoned working dogs. Joao showed sketches, budgets, and even a plot of land he had started to clear at the back of their property. "I know it sounds crazy," he smiled at the camera, "but imagine how many lives we can transform. Rex will be the head instructor, and you, my love, you have the perfect heart to lead it." Tears streamed down Amanda's face as she watched recording after recording. It was as if Joao were right there, talking to her, planning a future they could no longer physically share. Beside her, Rex watched intently, as if he understood every word. The widow ran a hand through the dog's soft fur, feeling a mix of pain and determination swell inside her. The weight of the responsibility was immense, but for the first time since her loss, Amanda saw a path forward. "We're going to make this happen," she whispered to Rex, who answered with a soft bark. "For Joao, for Esperanza, for all of them." The grief was not Amanda's alone. Rex, too, carried the weight of João Silva's absence. For 3 days following the funeral, the German shepherd refused to eat or drink. Lying beside the door to the bedroom that had belonged to his human partner, the dog remained motionless, a living statue of devotion. Amanda watched him with a broken heart. She tried everything: premium kibble from the city, pieces of roasted chicken, even the special treats Joao kept for training sessions. Nothing worked. The dog would simply turn his muzzle away, his brown eyes reflecting a sadness as deep as her own. "Rex, please," she would plead, stroking his coat. "Joao wouldn't want this." It was during one particularly difficult afternoon, while organizing her husband's closet, that Amanda found an old rubber toy, its ends completely chewed. She remembered instantly how Joao had cherished it, saying it was the first gift he had ever given Rex as a puppy. When she offered the toy to the dog, something shifted. Rex sniffed the object for long seconds, as if recognizing not just the scent, but all the memories it held. For the first time in days, he rose, took the toy gently in his teeth, and walked to his bowl, where he finally began to eat. From that moment on, a gradual transformation began. Rex started to pay special attention to little Esperanza. In the mornings, he would guide the puppy around the yard, showing her the best spots to play. In the afternoons, Amanda watched in awe as the police dog demonstrated infinite patience, teaching the little one how to sit, lie down, and stay on command. "It's incredible," Donna Lucia commented during a visit. "It's like he's passing on everything he learned from Joao to her." Amanda agreed in silence. There was something almost supernatural in the way Rex guided Esperanza. When the puppy failed a command, he showed no frustration, simply repeating the demonstration like a dedicated teacher. At night, the two slept together, the little one curled up against the German shepherd's larger body. "It's as if Joao's spirit is alive in them," Amanda confided to her neighbor as they watched the two dogs play in the yard. As if he planned this somehow. An unbreakable bond was forming before her eyes, a connection that transcended human understanding. In those moments, Amanda felt that despite the pain, she had found a new purpose. To protect this special bond that in some mysterious way kept the essence of the man she had so deeply loved alive. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window as Amanda Silva sipped her coffee, watching Rex and Esperanza play in the yard. The German shepherd, always so serious during his police work, now showed an almost paternal side with the puppy. It was as if João had left a part of himself in those two. "Your husband used to come by every week, you know?" Donna Lucia Costa's voice broke through her thoughts. The elderly neighbor had stopped by with a homemade cake, as she had done regularly since the funeral. "He cared for my old ones. Dogs no one else wanted. With arthritis, blind, some even missing a limb." Amanda swallowed hard, surprised. João had never mentioned these visits. The old woman continued, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "He would bring special food, medicine he got from the vet. He even built ramps for the ones who couldn't climb stairs anymore." Each new story she heard about her husband was like discovering a new star in a sky she thought she already knew completely. Donna Lucia showed her photos on her phone. João, smiling, surrounded by elderly dogs licking his face in adoration. A side of him Amanda had never imagined. "But why did he never tell me?" she asked, more to herself than to her neighbor. "He said you already had enough to worry about. He wanted to surprise you when the project was ready." In the yard, Rex had laid down on the grass, letting Esperanza nibble on his ear. The connection between them grew stronger each day, as if the older dog knew exactly what the puppy needed to learn. Amanda felt she was part of something larger, a plan João had started, and that was now up to her to continue. But insecurity gnawed at her. How could she carry on a dream she barely understood? At the Sunday market, she caught pitying glances and whispers. "She needs to move on," she heard one woman say. "Spending all her time on those dogs as if they were people. It's not healthy." The words stung like needles. To many in Santa Rosa, her dedication to the dogs seemed like a morbid way of clinging to the past. They didn't understand that Rex and Esperanza were more than just animals. They were living promises she had made to her husband. Back at the house, Amanda sat on the porch step, watching the two dogs sleep together. "How am I going to do this without you, João?" she whispered to the wind. The fear of failing, of not living up to the legacy she was slowly discovering, weighed on her shoulders like lead. But when Rex lifted his head and looked directly into her eyes, Amanda felt an inexplicable certainty that she was not alone on this journey. The storm arrived without warning in the early hours of Thursday morning. Amanda Silva awoke to the deafening sound of tiles being ripped away by the furious wind. She grabbed Esperanza in her arms and called for Rex, running to the bathroom, the only windowless room in the small house. For 3 hours, the three of them remained huddled on the cold floor, as nature raged outside. The German shepherd, normally so brave, trembled with every clap of thunder, reminding Amanda that even the strongest carry their invisible wounds. When they finally emerged from their makeshift shelter, the scene was one of devastation. Half the roof was gone. The rain had turned furniture into sodden sponges, and João's mementos, photos, uniforms, belongings, were scattered across the muddy yard. "My God, now what?" she murmured, her legs threatening to give way. With what little money was left after the funeral and Esperanza's treatments, rebuilding seemed impossible. It was Dona Lucia Costa who appeared first, carrying hot coffee and dry blankets. Soon, Joao's police colleagues arrived, followed by neighbors and even strangers. Within hours, a true work crew had formed on the widow's property. "Amanda won't be left helpless as long as I have strength in my arms," declared Seu Antonio, the retired carpenter from down the street, as he organized teams for the reconstruction. For 2 weeks, Amanda and the dogs stayed at Dona Lucia's house while dozens of volunteers worked tirelessly. Every replaced tile, every repainted wall, felt like a silent embrace from the community João had so loved. It was during those nights at her neighbor's house that Amanda noticed something disturbing. Rex, lying at the foot of her makeshift bed, would wake with a start, howling in anguish. His eyes, fixed on the empty air, seemed to see ghosts. "He's reliving his last moments with João," explained Dona Lucia, who knew canine behavior well. "Animals hold on to trauma, just like us." In the nights that followed, Amanda began sitting on the floor beside the dog, stroking his fur during these episodes. She spoke softly about João, about happy memories, about how they would form a new family. A different one, but a family nonetheless. When they finally returned to their home, now restored and even improved by their compassionate neighbors, Amanda realized she had to heal not only her own wounds, but Rex's as well. After all, the dog had witnessed his partner's death in a way she would never fully comprehend. "We will get through this together," she promised, as she watched Esperanza play in the clean yard, oblivious to the tragedy that had brought them together. "For João, for us, and for all the others we are going to help." Night fell heavy on Santa Rosa, bringing with it the silence Amanda Silva had come to dread. It was in these hours that João's absence became almost palpable, a ghost haunting every corner of the house. The living room clock struck 3 in the morning when the howling began. Rex, lying on the rug, was trembling and whimpering, trapped in another nightmare. Amanda rose with a start, pulling her robe around her as she walked to the German shepherd. She knelt beside him, gently touching his coarse fur. The dog's eyes shot open, disoriented, his gaze lost as if still searching for João in the shadows. I know," she whispered, feeling the tears fall freely. "You miss him as much as I do." Rex rested his muzzle in Amanda's hands, his brown eyes fixed on hers with an almost human intensity. The widow hugged the animal, feeling his heart beat against hers. It wasn't the first time they had shared their grief this way, but something felt different tonight. "We'll get through this together, I promise," she said, burying her face in his fur. "João may be gone, but he left you with me for a reason. The 3 of us, you, me, and Esperanza, we are a family now." For the first time since the funeral, Amanda felt a weight lift from her shoulders. It wasn't the end of the pain, but perhaps it was the beginning of acceptance. Rex licked her face, as if sealing the silent promise between them. The next morning, as she made coffee in the small kitchen, Amanda watched Esperanza playing in the yard. The puppy was growing stronger and more confident with each passing day. It was then that something extraordinary happened. Rex walked out into the yard and sat down, watching the little puppy. Without a single verbal command, Rex made a nearly imperceptible motion with his head. To Amanda's astonishment, Esperanza immediately snapped to attention, executing a sequence of advanced commands that Amanda recognized from João's training videos. "My God," she breathed, the coffee mug slipping from her grasp to clatter against the counter. The puppy performed each movement with precision, as if she had been training for years, not weeks. Amanda rushed into the yard, watching in wonder as Esperanza responded to signals that only Rex seemed to be giving. "How is this possible?" she asked Donna Lucia, who had appeared at the gate with a plate of small cakes. Her neighbor smiled, observing the scene with misty eyes. "Some bonds, my dear, go beyond what we can explain. It's as if João left a piece of himself in each of you." A shiver ran down Amanda's spine. It was as if an invisible connection united the three of them. An inheritance from João that transcended rational explanation and touched the mystery of a love that remains even after death. The Harvest Festival was an annual tradition in Santa Rosa, with colorful stalls scattered across the central plaza and competitions that brought the whole community together. For days, Amanda Silva hesitated. Memories of João were everywhere. He had always loved this event, helping to organize it and bringing Rex for police skill demonstrations. "You have to go, my child. João wouldn't want to see you locked away in this house," Donna Lucia insisted, placing her wrinkled hands over Amanda's. The neighbor had been her pillar in recent weeks, bringing food and comfort when Amanda could barely get out of bed. João's old colleagues also encouraged her. Carlos, her husband's patrol partner, suggested she enter Esperanza in the dog show. It would be a way to honor him. Amanda relented, more to please them than from any real belief. Esperanza was only 4 months old. Though Rex trained her daily, she was still just a puppy. On the morning of the festival, Amanda put on a blue blouse, João's favorite color, and tied a small red scarf around Esperanza's neck. Rex, wearing his immaculately clean K9 vest, walked beside them like a silent guardian. The plaza was crowded when they arrived. Many eyes turned to Amanda, some with pity, others with curiosity. She swallowed her discomfort and made her way to the competition area. When it was Esperanza's turn, a respectful silence fell over the audience. The puppy, surprisingly, showed no nervousness. With gentle commands from Amanda, she executed each movement with stunning precision. She sat, lay down, rolled over, and even played dead on cue. "She looks like she was born for this," the judge commented, visibly impressed. But the moment that truly left everyone breathless happened after her performance. A frantic mother began shouting for her 5-year-old son, who had vanished into the crowd. Before Amanda could react, Esperanza slipped her leash and darted between the stalls, barking insistently. "She's found something!" Carlos yelled, running after the puppy. Following the barks, they found the frightened boy hidden behind some boxes at the back of a distant stall. Esperanza was sitting beside him, licking away his tears as she waited for the adults to arrive. The crowd erupted in applause as Amanda and the boy returned. In that moment, she saw not pity in their eyes, but admiration. And for the first time since the funeral, Amanda smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile, knowing that somehow João was there with them. As the sun set over Santa Rosa, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Donna Lucia approached Amanda, holding a yellowed envelope in her wrinkled hands. "I found this among the things João asked me to keep for him," the neighbor said softly. "He made me promise to only give it to you when you and the dogs were ready. I think today is the day." With trembling hands, Amanda opened the envelope. Her husband's unmistakable handwriting instantly brought tears to her eyes. In the letter, João revealed that Esperanza was no ordinary puppy. She was the daughter of Estrella, a service dog he had rescued during a police raid on an illegal breeding operation. The puppy's mother, gravely injured, did not survive the birth, but she managed to bring 5 healthy pups into the world. 4 of them went to safe homes, João wrote, but I kept Esperanza for us. She has her mother's determined gaze, the same protective instinct. I know that by the time you read this, I'll probably be gone, but I trust that you and Rex will know how to guide her. Tears streamed freely down Amanda's face as she read about the dream João had nurtured, to create a rehabilitation and adoption center for retired or rescued working dogs. Dogs who, like Estrella, deserved a second chance. This is my last request, my love, the letter concluded. Turn our home into the haven these animals deserve. Rex will be their guide. Esperanza will be the future. And you, Amanda, will be the heart of it all. Beside her, Rex rested his head on her knee, as if he understood every word. Esperanza, still a puppy but with a surprisingly mature gaze, sat at attention, as if she finally understood her purpose. Amanda stroked both dogs, feeling a clarity she hadn't known since her husband's death. Now she understood why the puppy had been placed in the coffin. It was João's way of ensuring his legacy would continue, that his mission would be fulfilled even after he was gone. He trusted us, she whispered to the dogs, holding the letter to her chest. This is our mission now. In that moment, under the starry sky of Santa Rosa, Amanda understood she wasn't just honoring the memory of the man she loved. She was continuing what he had started, transforming grief into purpose and pain into hope. Nearly 6 months had passed since João Silva's funeral, but the challenges in Amanda's life seemed endless. One Saturday afternoon, a sharp yelp cut through the air. Esperanza had grievously injured herself on a wire fence at the back of the yard. Panic seized Amanda as she saw the blood pouring from the puppy's leg. Rex immediately began barking, a desperate call for help. With trembling hands, she wrapped the small German shepherd in a towel and rushed to the nearest veterinary clinic. She needs surgery urgently, Dr. Mendez explained. The cut is deep, it's hit tendons, and there's a serious risk of infection. The estimated cost made Amanda's stomach drop. It was money she simply didn't have. But as she looked into Esperanza's trusting eyes, she didn't hesitate for a second. Do whatever it takes to save her, she replied with resolve. The next morning, Amanda began to sort through João's most valuable possessions. The watch he received at his police academy graduation, his prized collection of old coins, even the guitar he used to play on summer nights. Each item was a precious memory, but she knew João would have approved. Dona Lucia, hearing of the situation, offered to help sell them. He always knew that things are just things, she comforted, but a life is irreplaceable. The surgery was a success. When Amanda finally brought Esperanza home, Rex's behavior moved even the most stoic of neighbors. The police dog did not leave the puppy's side for a single minute during her recovery. He lay beside her, gently licked her bandage, and growled if anyone came too close. At night, watching them sleep together, Amanda felt a strange sense of peace. You two are all I have left of him, she whispered. Esperanza's recovery was remarkably fast. Within 2 weeks, she was running through the yard again, though with a slight limp that the vet said would likely be permanent. That small imperfection, however, only made her story more special. True bonds are forged in the fire of hardship, Amanda wrote in her journal that night. It was something João used to say, and only now did she fully understand what he meant. Late one night, sitting on the living room floor, Amanda opened another dusty box of João's belongings. Inside, she found a yellowed envelope with her name on it. It contained a flash drive. With shaking hands, she plugged it into her laptop. An image of João appeared on the screen, sitting in their yard, with Rex at his feet. "Amanda, my love," his voice filled the empty room. "If you're watching this, it means I'm not there anymore. But I want you to know that Rex and Esperanza are my continuation in this world. They carry everything I believe in: loyalty, courage, and the capacity for limitless love. Trust them as you trusted me." Tears streamed down her face as João explained in detail how he trained Rex and how he dreamed of a place where abandoned dogs could get a second chance. In some of the videos, he spoke directly to her, as if he knew exactly what she would be feeling. "You are stronger than you think, Amanda. You always have been." The next morning, Dona Lucia found Amanda with swollen eyes, but a different kind of smile on her face. "I've discovered João had bigger plans than we ever imagined," she told her neighbor. "And I think I finally understand what I have to do." In the weeks that followed, a change came over Amanda. The woman who had once defined herself only as João's wife now made her own decisions. Her natural empathy became her greatest strength. The stubbornness João had always teased her about hardened into a determination to overcome any obstacle. Rex and Esperanza seemed to sense the shift. The older dog, once melancholic, now walked with a renewed purpose at her side. The puppy, fully recovered, followed them like a joyful shadow. One afternoon, as Amanda helped a newly rescued dog eat, she realized she wasn't just fulfilling a mission João had left behind. She was writing her own story. The recordings had been the push she needed, but the path forward was now hers. "I'm not just honoring your memory," she whispered to João's photo on the wall. "I'm discovering who I am without you, but with a piece of you in every choice I make." The project João Silva had dreamed of finally came to life. On a sunny Sunday, Amanda installed a simple sign on her gate: Esperanza Shelter, a home for special dogs. The once quiet yard now echoed with the lively barks of dogs rescued from the streets or surrendered by owners who could no longer care for them. Using materials donated by the community, Amanda transformed the space. Colorful dog houses, handmade feeding stations, and a small training area gradually appeared. Rex and Esperanza became the perfect welcoming committee. He with his experience and discipline, she with her youthful energy and natural empathy. "I never imagined that trembling puppy in the coffin would become our greatest teacher," Amanda remarked to Dona Lucia, as they watched Esperanza guide a blind Labrador across the yard. At first, some in Santa Rosa were skeptical. "It's going to become a junkyard for strays," they muttered. But Amanda's dedication proved them wrong. Every rescued animal received a veterinary evaluation, basic training, and careful socialization. The results were undeniable. Dogs who arrived aggressive or fearful transformed into balanced, loving companions. The first major success was Tobias, an old shepherd mix who had lost his elderly owner. After 3 weeks under Amanda's care, the dog's spirit was rekindled. He was adopted by a family whose autistic son found in him the best friend he never had. Success stories multiplied. The city, which had initially ignored the project, began to contribute a small monthly stipend. Local businesses donated food and supplies. On Saturdays, volunteers arrived to help. "João would be so proud," Amanda said one afternoon, watching Rex teach a puppy to sit. She knew that every animal saved was a part of her husband's legacy, carried forward. The shelter was more than a place for dogs. It was a place where broken people found healing through their love for animals. The widow, once consumed by grief, was now known throughout the region as a symbol of strength and hope. But despite the project's growing success, the nights were still the hardest. Sitting on the wooden porch João had built, Amanda would watch the stars and let the tears fall freely. The silence of the house only amplified her husband's absence. In those lonely hours, she wondered if she had the strength to go on. In the corner of the room, on a faded old rug, Rex and Esperanza slept, curled up together. The adult German shepherd, ever vigilant even in his sleep, kept the puppy protected beneath his paw. Amanda watched them, her heart aching. "How can I handle all of this alone?" she murmured to herself, her fingers tracing the wedding band she still wore. Bills were piling up on the kitchen table. The veterinary clinic had sent another invoice for the medication for the new rescues. Her neighbor, Donna Lucia, tried to help however she could, bringing food and offering her time. But Amanda knew the ultimate responsibility was hers. At times, the weight felt too heavy for her tired shoulders. During one of those sleepless nights, Amanda leafed through an old photo album. She found a picture of João in his uniform, smiling beside Rex on their first day as official partners. The memory brought a sad smile to her lips. She was interrupted by the ringing of her phone. It was Mariana Souza, a young teacher who had adopted one of the elderly dogs 2 weeks before. "He's adjusting wonderfully," the teacher said, her voice filled with emotion. "My students adore him when I bring him to school. Thank you for bringing this love into our lives." After hanging up, Amanda walked to the window. Outside, the small town of Santa Rosa slept peacefully under the starry sky of the Brazilian countryside. Each light still shining represented a home where, perhaps, one of the dogs she and João had saved was now resting safely. It was in these moments that her heart felt lighter. Every animal that found a new home was a small victory shared with João. Amanda could almost feel his presence, approving of her choices, guiding her steps, even in his absence. With each dog that was adopted, it was as if a part of the policeman's generous spirit lived on, multiplying with every new family. "We're doing it, aren't we?" she whispered to João's portrait on the wall, as Rex sleepily lifted his head, as if answering for his old partner. The storm that fell over Santa Rosa that Thursday night turned the streets into small rivers. Amanda Silva was watching the rain from her window when the phone rang. It was the police chief, informing her that little Mateus, only 6 years old, had disappeared during the storm. Without hesitation, Amanda grabbed the raincoats and called for Rex and Hope. The adult German shepherd seemed to understand the gravity of the situation, while the puppy, now almost a year old, waited attentively beside her mentor. Despite Hope's inexperience, something told Amanda she would need them both. In the central square, dozens of residents were already organizing into search parties. Donna Lucia was handing out flashlights and coordinating the teams with the efficiency of someone who had faced community crises before. When she saw Amanda arrive with the 2 dogs, she breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank God you're here. The boy's been missing for over 2 hours." Amanda handed a piece of the boy's clothing to Hope. The young dog sniffed it deeply, raised her snout to the rain, and to everyone's surprise, let out a decisive bark before pulling on her leash toward the woods surrounding the municipal lake. Rex followed close behind, a seasoned guardian, as Hope pushed forward with determination along the muddy trail. It was then that Amanda recognized the young dog's movements. They were the exact same search and rescue motions João had taught Rex in the old videos she had watched so many times. "She's using João's training," Amanda murmured to herself, her voice thick with emotion. After 40 minutes of intense searching, Hope stopped abruptly and began barking at a small hollow between the roots of an ancient tree. There, curled up and trembling with cold, was Mateus. The boy, frightened but conscious, managed to smile when he saw the dogs approach. Amanda wrapped him in a thermal blanket, while Rex and Hope stayed by his side, warming him with their bodies. The rescue quickly became news. The next morning, the local paper's front page read, "Dogs trained by deceased officer save child during storm." Reporters from regional stations appeared at Amanda's door, wanting to know more about the extraordinary story of the dogs and João Silva's legacy. The once shy and reserved widow suddenly found herself a spokesperson for a greater cause. "It's not me doing this," Amanda explained to a local radio journalist. "It's João, through them. These dogs carry the best of him." That rescue sealed Amanda's destiny. What had begun as a miracle at a funeral had now become her purpose. The entire town now recognized that Rex and Hope were not just pets. They were the guardians of a legacy of love and service that transcended death. 6 months after the funeral that changed everything, Amanda Silva finally saw the dream take shape. The João Silva Rehabilitation Center for Special Needs Dogs officially opened its doors on a sunny Saturday morning. The old backyard, now transformed with colorful fences, cozy kennels, and training areas, was almost unrecognizable. Rex, wearing a special vest for the occasion, walked beside Amanda, as if he understood the importance of the moment. Hope, no longer a fragile puppy, but a graceful young dog, ran from one side to the other, greeting visitors with boundless joy. "João would be so proud of you," Dona Lucia whispered, hugging her friend with tears in her eyes. The neighbor had brought a hand-carved sign with the center's name, a gift that made Amanda swallow hard to fight back her own tears. The mayor of Santa Rosa made a point of attending, cutting the inaugural ribbon while speaking about how a tragedy had transformed into a blessing for the entire community. In the background, children laughed as they played with the 4 rehabilitated dogs who were waiting for adoption. "I never imagined I would find the strength to go on," Amanda confessed to the group of close friends surrounding her. "Every brick of this place was laid with pain, but also with a love I can't explain." The celebration turned into a community festival as residents began to arrive with local dishes, music, and stories about how João had touched their lives. An improvised screen showed photos of the officer with Rex on duty, images that drew nostalgic sighs and smiles from the crowd. The most moving moment came when Amanda introduced the first group of volunteers, teenagers from the local school who would help on weekends. Among them was the baker's son, whom Hope had rescued during the Harvest Festival. "This place isn't just about dogs," Amanda explained into the makeshift microphone. "It's about second chances. It's about finding purpose in pain, about turning absence into presence." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the center, Amanda watched Rex and Hope guiding curious guests through the space like true hosts. It was then that she felt, for the first time since the funeral, a genuine peace. There, amidst joyful barks and smiling faces, she finally understood. True love doesn't end with death. It multiplies, it transforms, and above all, it saves. On that golden autumn afternoon, Amanda Silva sat in the rocking chair on her porch, watching the sunset paint the rehabilitation center's yard in shades of orange. Rex and Hope ran across the lawn, leading a group of newly rescued dogs. The German shepherd, now with a few white hairs on his muzzle, maintained his vigilant posture while the young female showed the newcomers how to navigate the small obstacle course. Amanda smiled, feeling the weight of the last few months transform into something else. It was no longer just pain. It was purpose. Her fingers touched the locket she wore around her neck, which held a photo of João. Who would have thought that a desperate bark at a funeral would be the beginning of such a transformative journey? "I think we did it, my love," she whispered to the wind, as if João could hear. The center had already rehabilitated and found homes for 23 dogs in just 6 months. Each successful adoption felt like a small miracle that renewed her strength. Donna Lucia appeared through the side gate, carrying a basket of homemade bread. The neighbor, who at first had only offered words of comfort, was now a fundamental part of the project, caring for the oldest dogs with a patience that only the years could teach. "Thinking of him?" the older woman asked, sitting down beside Amanda. "Always," she replied. "But it's different now." The void that had seemed infinite was now filled with barks, licks, and grateful eyes. Every dog she saved carried a piece of João's spirit, his generosity, his stubborn belief in the impossible. Rex broke away from the play and came to Amanda, resting his head in her lap. The police dog, who once only responded to his human partner's commands, now trusted her completely. Hope soon joined them, carrying the old toy João had cherished. Amanda stroked them both, remembering the day they had found the puppy in the coffin. What had felt like a final farewell had become the beginning of something new. João was gone, but his legacy remained alive, not only in the dogs they had saved together, but in the strength Amanda had discovered within herself. True courage, she thought, isn't about not feeling fear, but about moving forward even with a broken heart. The sun finally set, but Amanda no longer felt the darkness. The yard lit up with the automatic lights they had recently installed, and the joyful barks of the dogs echoed across the property. In Santa Rosa, people now told the story of the miracle that began with a desperate bark before a coffin. A miracle no one could have imagined, but one that had forever changed everyone's lives.